that definitely sets the agenda rolling. It's always a pleasure to sit in for Saheed Fuad on the show. Fuad himself will be joining in the conversation via the phone line as a guest analyst this evening. Well, I, Omobola Sandra, will be anchoring the show for this evening. I don't know if he's there with us already. Hello, good evening, Fuad. All right. While we still try to connect with Fuad, it's just as I mentioned earlier, it's going to be a beautiful evening, of course, where we have quite a lot to discuss on. I promise the anchor quality remains the same as well. I will be joined in the studio with Joseph Folorunsho and Nuruddin Adegbero will be joining in. They're here with me in the studio. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening, Sandra. Good evening, Lagos.
All right.
Well, good evening, Sandra, and good evening. Well, we have beyond Lagos residents, so yes. Good evening, Nigeria.
Thank you very much for highlighting that. It's very, very important.
It's very important.
Yes.
We have some people even in UK, US, they don't joke with this station, so we have them around the world.
Just as you had mentioned, good evening from wherever it is that you are listening to us. I mean, we're also live on Facebook, so you could be anywhere in any part of the world. Tune into this program here to get unbiased, undiluted, pure, clean political conversations. Good evening, Saheed Fuad.
Yeah, good evening, Sandra.
All right, there you have it. So we have it's a full house. Well, it's a full house, partially home and abroad, everywhere. But then this evening, as usual, we have quite a number of conversations that we're going to be having this evening. We have two topics. Of course, the first one is as regards the 2023 elections. The European Union Election Observers Mission had quite a report, and there's been responses, of course, from the federal government and INEC. So between European Union's report and the federal government and INEC rebuttal, how important is the renewed call for electoral reforms in the country? And the second one, of course, is as regards the ministerial list, the much awaited, the much anticipated ministerial list. I mean, 40 days gone, 20 days left. What political lobbying? I can't begin to imagine what Abuja would look like at this time of, politics. Let me put it that way. Well, the president seems to be, would I say that the president, there's a lot of people coming around, in and around. In the past few weeks, we've seen quite a lot of personalities gracing the halls of Aso Villa, trying to, one way or the other, put themselves forward or put their candidates forward or put their interests forward as the president compiles his ministerial list. Some 2-3 days ago, the special advisor to the president on special duties, communications and strategy in person of Dele Alake had to come forward, to rebut some or to debunk some claims that some certain names are already, being put in place, especially from the opposition. I'm talking of Olisa Metu, and the like. So, as there's been a whole lot of conversations as surrounding the ministerial list. Oh, should we have politicians or should we have more technocrats? That conversation seems to still be a hot topic now, especially as we have, a few days left before by law, because by law the president must name his cabinet within 60 days. Those are the two conversations we're going to have, and now we would have quite the banter here in the studio with our analysts, carefully dissecting the topics as needed. Then we proceed to open the phone line for you to join in on the conversation much later on. Just as I mentioned earlier, or just as I introduced earlier on, we have Joseph Folorunsho here in the studio. We have Nuruddin Adegbero here in the studio, and Saheed Fuad, the usual anchor of the show, is joining in this evening as an analyst. Now, let's get on with it, shall we? The first topic. The European Election Observation Mission to Nigeria 2 weeks ago published its final report on the general elections 2023, and they had quite a lot to say. The chief observer, that's Barry Andrews, said that Nigerians, showed some clear commitment to the democratic process. I think it's something that we can all agree to, with a lot of people going our way ahead to queue up for hours for their, voters' cards, trying to register for it, trying to pick it up. There was a lot of buzz. And for the first time we didn't have a two-party concentration. We had an array of parties that a lot of people looked forward to. For the first time we had 4 major political parties at the forefront. I'm talking of the APC, which was the incumbent. I'm talking of the main opposition party, the PDP, and the emergence of the Obedient Movement under the umbrella of the Labour Party in support of Peter Obi, the presidential candidate of the Labour Party, who was a vice presidential candidate for the PDP in the last election in 2019. And then we have Rabiu Kwankwaso of the New Nigeria People's Party. So it was quite a colorful campaign period. It was quite a colorful campaign period, and as was the election as well. So the European Union Election Observer Mission said, well, Nigerians actually showed some sort of commitment to the democratic process. I remember on the day of the elections, our reporters were reporting a lot of people got to their polling units quite early. I mean, for an election that was supposed to start at 8 a.m., some people were there as early as 7 a.m. just to ensure that they did their part. However, he noted, that's Barry Andrews, noted that the election exposed some systemic weaknesses that revealed the need for further legal and operational reforms in order to enhance transparency, inclusiveness, and accountability. He went further to state, and now I'm quoting, open quote, "We are particularly concerned about the need for reform in 6 areas, which we have identified as priority recommendations, and we believe, if implemented, could contribute to improvements for the conduct of elections." Now, what were these 6 priority recommendations by the European Union? The first one is 1. Remove ambiguities in the law. Just make it as clear as possible. Make it simple. There's no need of all this 25%, in certain places, or 2/3 or 3/3 or whatever. So, remove ambiguities in the law. Number 2, establish a publicly accountable selection process for INEC members. Number 3, ensure real-time publication of and access to election results. INEC had promised that there were going to be real-time, uploads of results through the IREV and all. So, number 4, they also said provide greater protection for media practitioners. That's number 4. Number 5, address discrimination against women in political life. Number 6, impunity regarding electoral offenses. Well, that's quite a lot. And he wrapped up by saying that there is a need for political will to actually achieve any improved democratic practice in Nigeria. And this actually has to do with, all stakeholders coming together to, ensure that they have some sort of conversation as regards electoral reform. And that is very crucial. Meanwhile, the federal government rejected the report. INEC, who invited the observation mission, INEC that invited the European Union Election Observation Mission, as well rejected the report. Dele Alake, special advisor to the president on special duties, communications and strategy, described the EU mission report as a poorly done desk job. The federal government said the EU mission had a limited coverage of the election. They said that they had just like 10 analysts in Abuja, and then they now spread like 40 analysts across 36 states. So how is it possible that this number of people were able to gather all of this information that they have? Apparently, to the federal government, that number is not enough. It doesn't suffice to be able to get, a comprehensive report as regards the election. They also added that, that the EU mission based their findings on rumors, social media commentaries, statements made by the opposition parties. And he also went further to say something, and I'm going to quote him. I'm quoting Dele Alake now. He said, "Sometimes in May, we alerted the nation through a press statement to the plan by a continental multilateral institution to discredit the 2023 general elections conducted by INEC. The main target was the presidential election, clearly and fairly won by the then candidate of the APC, Bola Ahmed Tinubu," said Dele Alake. And he said that there is no substantial evidence provided by the European Union or any foreign and local organization that is viable enough to impeach the integrity of the 2023 election outcome. So that was the response of the federal government. INEC also disagreed with the findings, saying it is unfair to judge the entire commission and the entirety of the polls off of a few glitches. Let's not forget that when Nigerians were complaining that results were not being uploaded real time, Festus Okoye came forward, that the chairman of the commission, voter education, came forward to say that it was due to some glitches, that is why we are not able to upload real time, and it caused a lot of brouhaha with Dino Milaye causing some scene at the National Coalition Center. So while we're going to have quite a number of angles to this particular one, first and foremost, does the European Union report justify or what do you think of the European Union? Does it justify the calls for reforms as regards our electoral processes in the country? You've heard from the European Union, you heard the 6 major points that he pointed out. What do you think as regards that, before then we go into whether or not the response of the federal government to this report was valid? I'll start with you, Nuruddin.
Well, let me start like this. Because when people hear European Union election observer mission, that particular team have 110, not the numbers that the spokesperson of the president talked about, is 110 members. And apart from that, they represented
members or member
observers,
countries, or
no 110 individuals. Yes, and they were all accredited. That one is one. Then 2, they represented 25 European nations plus Norway, Switzerland, and Canada. So they go beyond European nations. That one is part 2. Then part 3 is that they were on ground before the election. In fact, they were on ground January 11, 2023, and they left the shore of this particular country April 11, 2023. 3 good months. The day they submitted that particular is April 11th, and that was the day they left this country. 3 good months. So they saw before the election. They were in the country. During the election, they were here. After the election, they were here. So that one is another thing. And that report is so loaded, 92 pages. In fact, to some certain duplication in some 94 pages, but it's actually 92 pages. The 6 areas they mentioned: removal of ambiguities in our law. This one, it is not peculiar, only anything that has to do with election in Nigeria. We need to reform that ambiguity in that kind of law, and that is the reason why there are some certain part of that law that are running against or fighting against or not going in coherent with what the constitution says. Did you know the way how the former Senate president left the scene when he was contesting to be the candidate of his party, and later through turn around and he became a senator? You remember what Okorocha said? That one is part 1. Part 2 is the one of Akpabio, the current Senate president. After contesting the primary election, and he later represented the senatorial district. That one is another one. Then the removal and the establishment of public accountable selection of yes. A lot of people, a lot of discussion has been going on that we need to look at the areas how we have our electoral commissioner, national commissioners, even the INEC chairman itself, that is too central to the executive, especially to the president. There are some, we said it before the election, that there are some certain commissioner, there are some certain resident electoral commissioner that they are politicians. And I'm very, very sure the one that happened in Adabawa really confirm what we've been saying before the election. I will mention the name of resident commissioner that is on the second time now. he happens to work with the electoral body of a particular state before he was being found to be rec, and this person is the one that conducted election twice in that particular state that the opposition did not even win one. Where I'm coming is that we have a situation in which a rec even have a situation in which they disqualify all the opposition parties.
I think please hold on now, because okay, we have 6 now. You've mentioned 2, and clearly from what you have said, you quite agree with these areas of concentration or areas of recommendations that the EU observer mission is saying we should look at.
Yes.
Let me go to Fuad now. Fuad, just as I've mentioned clearly all the 6 recommended areas that the observer mission is saying that we should look at. Nuruddin has graciously looked through removing ambiguities in the law, establishing an accountable selection process. Look at the last statement he mentioned as regards a resident electoral commissioner being so many things. Let's not even go into the embattled Adamawa state rec.
Correct, yeah.
Yes, let's go on now to number 3 and 4. Real-time publication of an assessment, access to election results, and protection for media practitioners.
Well, of course, good evening, Nuruddin, and good evening, Joseph Folorunso.
Good evening, Fuad.
Yes, and thank you, Sandra, for sitting in for me today. Again, it's also always a pleasure to be on this side, analyzing issues rather than being the one asking the question. Again, like you just said, I don't know why the special advisor to the president decided to take the position he took by condemning the entire report of the European Union Observer Mission. He said it was a poorly done desk job. Again, the reality is that we cannot continue to hide behind our fingers. We have a problem with our electoral process. That's clear, that's as clear as daylight. And like you've enumerated, there are 6 areas of recommendation. Although it's about 93 pages of
there are actually 23 areas of recommendations, just that these 6 are the key ones.
These are the key ones that we are looking at. And like you said, nobody has addressed the idea of removing ambiguities in our law. You see, the issue with our law is that we are not too process driven about the way we amend our laws. If you remember that the Electoral Act 2022 was already done, there was a lot of back and forth and all of that, signing, not signing, and all of that. So you have situations where till now, lawyers still have questions about the way we conduct our elections, if you agree with me. There's also the establishment of the accountable selection process for INEC members. That Nuruddin has also mentioned. We have situations where we've seen very troubling behavior from some of the INEC officials. And I think the height of it all in the last election was the one from Adamawa State. Well, like they always say, Nuruddin, and I'm sure Joseph Folorunso will agree with me. The one with the catch, they exposed to. I'm sure maybe there were people who behaved worse than Harry. Only that they were smarter with their own. But the Adamawa rep was, of course, the one that was caught eventually. And when INEC has said that, I think in August, his case will be prosecuted in court.
The election was a standalone election, so
that was why but we saw a lot of shenanigans, a lot of back and forth and misbehavior from a lot of INEC officials, down from the polling unit officers to resident electoral commissioners to returning officers and all of that. There were a lot of questions about some of their conduct. But on the third one, ensuring time publication of and access to election results, that has been the major talking point as far as this election is concerned. You rightly also pointed out, Sandra, that look, INEC had promised Nigerians that election results will be transmitted real time. And they failed to do that. Of course, the excuse was that there was an electoral glitch. Sorry, there was a technical glitch. Yeah, I think the election petition tribunals, most of the cases before it now, are centered around the way the election results were announced, as against the provisions that INEC had laid down for the announcement of results, especially for the presidential election. So if the European Union is also telling us that we have to look at that and improve on it. And then protection for media practitioners. Sandra, if you remember, a lot of my team members were around. Remember that one of our cameramen who followed us on the election day had his phone seized during the governorship election. We had to use money to collect. Yeah, you know, he was harassed. His phone was seized because they felt he was recording them and all of that. So we had to, you know, so I think we were just out there on that day without any form of protection. I think the only thing that identified us as journalists was our branded vehicles and the INEC accreditation tag on our neck. We didn't have any police protection. We were just there. You know, I remember that, you know, on the election day, even my parents, Sandra, were calling me, be careful out there. You know, we're getting reports of fighting and all of that. So, as media practitioners, we didn't really have any form of protection. I think in one of the polling units, one of the TV stations reporters was also harassed. I think he was even punched in the face during the election. So, I think the EU mission also is right, calling for, you know, we should put more protection for media practitioners and all of that. So I agree that, look, we need to address these issues. But I'm sure that when we go further into this discussion, Sandra, there's no way we'll not have to talk about the Justice Muhammadu Uwe's report, electoral reforms report of 2008.
Oh, thank you very much for that. Yeah. We're definitely going to, you know, get into all of that. While that is an entire conversation on its own, because it's definitely something that needs to be broken down. But then still on this particular report, because we still have 2 more to go, I'd like to hear Joseph Folorunshaw's thoughts as regards the EU report, especially with focus on these 6 highlights that Barry Andrews brought forward.
Sandra, thank you very much for this. The federal government or the spokesperson of government we're all rejecting the report, the EU report, right? I think before we reject it, let's even start from the what we call entry behavior. Before the election, EU through one of their representatives in Nigeria, Samuela Osikpi, they donated about $39 million to support 2020 Nigeria 2023 election. And when they were dropping that money,
we collected their money, but we didn't collect
when they were dropping that money for us, they target us. Say the money is for transparent, credible, and inclusive election. Let me go so that before I come back to EU this thing. United States of America equally donated over $25 million to support our Nigeria election, and through Madam Mary Beth Leonard was the one that announced that. And what is target is to achieve free, fair, and credible election. Minus that Nigeria government budgeted 355 billion for the same election. Now, Sandra, I need to bring this figure. If you say you reject the European Union's report, I bet transfer this money back to them so that they don't do so. Because you cannot invest this amount of money on a system
and
you will not monitor what is going on there. You understand? So they are talking, they are putting their mouth where their money is. So we cannot at this very point say let us reject what they are saying. What we can bring out of it is even the people that are saying we should reject, assuming they were not in the one that had been announced as being favored or declared, I think they would have been supporting the European Union now. You understand? So what we're just saying is this. I think all of us will know the truth, and the truth knows us. Let me put it that way. And I've been saying it here that my grandfather used to tell me, it is now I'm beginning to clear. The thing is, the subject is beginning, the conversation is becoming clearer and clearer. That you cannot wake a person that is pretending to sleep, because you are going to, for ages, you will not be able to wake him up because the person is just pretending to. Nigeria will know what happened, even whether in Lagos here and outside Lagos, we know everything that happened during that very election. INEC promised us heaven and earth that we shouldn't worry. This election is going to be one of the best elections so far. The security personnel promised us all the security people, we have deployed so number of people. Every Nigeria should go about their normal business. And even before the election, we started seeing some people started complaining. Then I was at the INEC office in Yaba during that election. I was asking any journalist. That was more or less like a full day from morning till evening. They say they took maybe journalists in Lagos tag. They take it to Ibadan. Ibadan. Right. So if you, I was not asking one of the INEC person, I say, if after 4 years of planning for an election, if this is what we get, I don't know if they ask us to plan for election for 1 year. So what they're saying is, what the European Union are saying, we know the truth. You understand? Okay, so it is time for us to say, do you know what? We've gotten the report. We will look for a way to improve, or we'll see all your recommendations. Let's see what we can do in the next election. Especially we can say, okay, and Bayelsa election is very close. Kogi election is very close. Imo State election is very close. Next year is Edo State election. You can promise that. Do you know what? Let us see. We've gotten the report. We are going to work on them.
Thank you very much, Joseph, for following show. But I'm going to come from another angle. Dele Alake said something. He said, well, Nigerians have moved on. That's what he said. He said Nigerians have moved on. He said the country has moved on. The election, according to Dele Alake now, he said, and I'm quoting, that the election process is over. Can we just move on and just, the person who has been declared now, he said a credible, free, fair election was held, and now we have a president and he has a lot of plans for the country. Shall we just move on? Now, before we move into whether or not Nigerians have moved on, before we know whether or not Nigerians have moved on, or if Dele Alake is speaking the hearts of Nigerians, this was report that we always have a conversation on. This was a committee that was put together sometime 2007. And we have had how many electoral cycles since then, and we keep having the same problems over and over. I'm going through the Ways report, and there's something that keeps coming up there is as regards the independence of INEC, legal reforms and all of that. This is a report that was done in 2007, and here we are now. Majority of the 6 key point recommendations from the European Union Election Observation Mission has one thing or the other to pick from this Ways report. So have Nigerians truly moved on? I mean, can we just say, okay, this is who we are. We're just mediocre people and we just take whatever is thrown at us. We complain for a while and then we move on. So how can we ensure that these reforms or these suggestions or these recommendations, somebody somewhere actually does something about it? Fuad?
Okay, Sandra, I think we are actually playing our role very well as the 40th state of the realm by bringing up topics like this, because basically what we are doing today is to make electoral reforms an agenda for this government. And we'll not take our mouth away from it, if I'm even to use that word. We'll continue to talk about it. Because again, like you rightly pointed out, Sandra, there seems to be, every government that has come in, and I think it started from the Yaradua government, acknowledge that there is a problem with our electoral process. In fact, former President Yaradua, the late Yaradua, in 2007, had questioned the transparent nature of the election that brought him in. And in one of his statements, God bless his soul, he said, look, may Nigeria never see that kind of election before. Again, sorry. And that was what informed him setting up the Justice Muhammadu Ways Commission, the Electoral Reforms Committee, of 2007. Sandra, that committee worked for a whole 1 year, talking to stakeholders, meeting with experts, and came up with a recommendation in 2008. Look, the recommendation was adopted by that government, by the government of the former Yaradua. But the Federal Executive Council under Yaradua rejected what I can call the most important part of that report, which was the independence of INEC officials, INEC itself, in the appointment of the chairman and its major officials. So permit me to just do some little reading. And I break it down very easily, because what the Justice Ways report recommended can be categorized into about 6-2. Again, he talked about the independence of INEC, security during elections, election petition timelines. How do we conclude election petitions in real time before swearing in? He talked about the date for conducting elections. Part of it was that presidential and governorship elections should be conducted on the same day. And that, in fact, that same report, Sandra, suggested us having midterm elections for legislators, the way they do it in the United States. And if you allow me to just read, independence of INEC, for example, the committee report said that, look, there should be constitutional amendments that would remove INEC from political influence of the executive arm of government in terms of its composition and funding. So what it is said is that, look, INEC chairman and rec should never be appointed again by the president. But instead, the appointment should come from the NJC, the National Judicial Council, while its funding was to be done through the Consolidated Revenue Federation. So it means that in appointment and funding, INEC should be taken away from the table of the presidency. That's number one. Number two, Sandra, security during elections. The West report, again, I decided to summarize it. Talked about the fact that, look, the functions of the police on election day should be very clear. Not that the one that we saw policemen who said, no, we are not supposed to get close. We cannot even interfere. Whether they were to carry arms, the issue of police and their duty on election day should be very clear. And that should be a guideline from the Police Service Commission. Election petition timeline, Sandra. You know that one of the biggest arguments during this election, as the tribunals are on, is the fact that can we conclude petitions before swearing in? So this, the West report, since 2008, oh Sandra, like you said, how many elections have we had? How many presidents have we produced? None of them.
All right.
Look at this report. Date of conducting elections, midterm elections, and all of that. Look, we have a report that, look, when these people get into power, the willpower to do the right thing is thrown aside. So the only thing you see is that, look, you have electoral act reform, amendments here and there. We need to go back to the Justice Wales report. The solution for electoral problems in Nigeria is in that report. And we are expecting this particular government to go into that report and implement it immediately. Again, it will have to involve the National Assembly because it cannot do it alone.
Okay, thank you very much, Sahid Fuad. Just in case you're just tuning in, this is Political Roundtable on Mainland 98.3 FM. And today we are still looking at the first focal point of conversation this morning, which is as regards the European Union Election Observation Mission and their report as regards the 2023 general elections. And we're looking at the 6 key points highlighted by Barry Andrews, the chief observer of the mission. And we're also putting it up against, the UAE's report of 2007-2008. Let's not forget, just in case someone is wondering, this UAE's report that we keep talking about, in 2007, late President Umar Yar'Adua, who admitted that his election, that the election that brought him to power was flawed, decided to set up a commission, and he set up the Justice Mohammed Uwais Electoral Reform Commission. And this committee, thank you very much. And this committee put together, for 1 year, they came together, spoke to well-meaning Nigerians, and they were able to come up with a report. The interesting thing now is that why is this coming back again in 2023 is the fact that majority of the suggestions and recommendations from the UAE's report is what the European Union Election Observation Mission is still highlighting in 2023. So when are we ever going to get it right? Now, the reason why the UAE's report was not implemented then was because the Federal Executive Council of Umar Yar'Adua, they themselves came together and said, no, the president should be the one to, elect, or to appoint, INEC chairman and whoever. And, there are concerns that why should the person in charge or a player, let me put it that way, why should a player
appointing the referee,
be the one to tell you this is the referee that we are going to. What do you think? Putting it against this Uwe's report, and now who exactly can we trust to actually get this thing done?
Well,
if a federal executive committee can actually strike it out years ago.
Well, you won't blame the federal executive committee at that particular time, and this time, if you still throw it the same thing again, they will still throw it out. And don't forget that even during the time of Jonathan, that completed the 2 years tenure of Musa Yar'Adua, could not even do anything. But what happened is that in 2014, because he's facing election, he also put up a confab report. In Nigeria, we don't normally pick anything report. We waste money. After wasting money, those intellectuals, professionals, they will come together, they will sweat, they will move across the geopolitical zone in this country, and at the end of the day, the report will not be used. One thing that is there is this: the reason why that Uwe's report is pointing towards judicial arm of government is this: is the only arm of government where they don't pick those people that will lead them by election. They don't pick. They are the only one. You know that the executives filled with politicians, the legislative filled with politicians, but the judicial arm, they are professionals. So if it's coming from them, there's going to be a screening, there's going to be an advertisement, there's going to be a screening, and at the end of the day, and don't forget, after that particular report, we've have 2011 general election, 2015 general election, 2019 general election, 2023 general election. One of the things that the politicians will not want that particular report to really manifest in the life of Nigeria as a country is because of some certain reason. One, majority of our head of the electoral commission in Nigeria, they were always looked for, and they were always picked and recommended by politicians to those people that are going to appoint them. It's very, very clear. We know the story of Iwu, Maurice Iwu. We know the story, and we know how a former governor came out and said that I was the one that introduced you to the president for him to appoint you. That one is another thing. Then the one of Jega. We know how Jega emerged before he was appointed. And this current one, Mahmoud Yakubu, although I've met him twice, not when he was INEC chairman, when he was the head of Tech Fund, I met him twice because I went with my school to get Tech Fund, although we got it, and on a platter of gold. And that was when he was appointed. I was so happy that a man that did not know me from anywhere, and we bidded for a Tech Fund, even against a River State University at that particular time, and a governor was the one bidding for them, and we got it. I was so happy that a free fair man that could be able to. But one thing there that is so certain is this: there's something that is happening to that particular seat. That is why they have to change the method of how they were being appointed. So if they are being appointed by the agency, I'm telling you, we could have a situation where we are going to have somebody that will be independently minded, because he will have been screened at that particular time. And at the same time, there's going to be a caution, because you are not going to be looking at somebody that appointed you again, because you are going to be appointed, although there's still politics inside judiciary, we know. But one thing that is so certain is going to be different from when it's being appointed by a politician.
Well, do you remember the conversation we had on Friday as regards separating the office of the Attorney General of the Federation and the Minister of Justice? And you know, someone said that it is not about the office, but about the people and the personalities who are being appointed into the office. And now, if we are calling for the National Judicial Council, which is made up of Supreme Court justices, to shortlist names of proven people in Nigeria, people of integrity, people who have proven themselves, well-meaning Nigerians, pushing those names to the National Assembly for approval, then the president will now swear in who becomes, the
INEC chairman.
The INEC chairman.
INEC chairman, Rex, yeah.
Yes. Do we not see this as a tedious process? Is this looking at the reality of the country now, the reality of Nigeria now, how politics is being played? Do you see this as a tedious process?
Well, there's no process that is tedious. Processes don't run on autopilot. People will run processes. And like they always say, institutions cannot run itself. the people will have to run institutions. But of course, that is why you must put up frameworks that will make people, even if they have tendencies to want to corrupt the system, it will be extremely difficult for them to do that. I agree with you that, look, and I think there have been people who have said that, look, no matter the reforms we bring into INEC or how INEC is composed, no matter the kind of technology we introduce into our electoral process and the reforms we bring into it, until we have people of proven character, people who are going to see Nigeria beyond personal interest, people who are going to bring selflessness, not selfishness to public service, nothing will change. Nurudeen was talking about Professor Atairu Jega. He also talked about Professor Mahmoud Yakub when he was in TED Fund. Look, there are people who will tell you that, look, Professor Mahmoud Yakub is a man of proven integrity. And that's one testimony that Nurudeen is giving to you, that when he was in TED Fund, he had gone there to bid for TED Fund approval against a state-run university without bribing or going through any protocol, and they got it without having to bribe their way through. And Professor Mahmoud Yakub was the leader, was the head of TED Fund at that time. You know, the problem we have is this, Sandra. Yes, I agree that we need people of proven character and integrity. But I also think that, look, we must first restructure the process first. We must first create a system that will now make people of proven integrity and character come in and perform without a problem. I'll give you an example. And I'm sure Nurudeen and Joseph will bear me witness. When the late Bola Ige was appointed into the Ministry of Power, what happened to him?
You mentioned
that is a man of proven integrity and character. But he got into a corrupt system and it became a serious problem. Remember too, the man that is always on short nika, I want to remember him. He's late. Remember when he was brought into government, Joseph, no, do you remember what happened?
Yes, now to be sharing money.
And it became a problem. So you can have one of the best character and personality in the world, Sandra. But if you are thrown into a corrupt system, I'm sorry, you just discover that you can't function properly. So again, yes, for people of proven character, but we must first reform our institutions and systems so that people of proven character comes in and they are able to perform, seamlessly without any problem.
Thank you very much, Said Fuad. We're live on Facebook and YouTube. Just in case you're just tuning in, this is Mainland 98.3 FM and you're on to Political Roundtable. My name is Omobola Sandra. I have Fuad Sahid via the phone line, who is usually the anchor of the show. And Nurudeen Adegbero is here with me in the studio, and Joseph Folorunsho is here. Now, we have gone through the dilly-dallying as regards, the suggestions, the recommendations. I'm hoping one way or the other that this is not just another conversation, and then by in 4 years' time again we're going to be having this conversation, because if the Uwais report, fully loaded report, had amazing suggestions and recommendations, was not adhered to by a federal executive council, I don't know who is going to bail the cat, who would actually turn things around. But Dele Alake has said something, and he said that this electoral the EU electoral observer mission, that what they did was just a desk job, and that what proof do they have that they had limited coverage of the elections, and that they got most of their findings based on rumors, social media commentaries, and statements made by the opposition parties. You were all, including Sahid Fuad, you were all reporters on the field during the elections, and you saw everything that happened. You saw as it was happening. I don't want to go to Nurudeen because most of his reports on the election day was, very, very interesting.
Trouble.
It was all trouble. What was on the island? But as Fuad as well, one of his team members, his phone got stolen and all of that. And
no, they took his phone from you. Not told you. They bring your phone.
They collected it.
Two of our members were on the verge of being mobbed in Ibejuleki.
Okay, so now even if at all we have reform, we have reforms that our leaders are yet to look into, even if at all we have laws that our leaders are yet to look into. Forward, I know that we had a conversation on we had trends in the papers for almost 3 months. It was between the AGF and the House of Assembly and the President on the Electoral Act 2022. Who will sign, who will veto, who did not want to embarrass the president, and so many things as regards the Electoral Act 2022, and a lot came up. But now, what other agencies do you think we can actually hold or look to actually make things there be a turnaround, if at all our leaders are not ready to step up and make things work? What other agency, what other commission, what other ministry, what other department, what other human being aside from God can Nigerians look to now to actually bail the cat and make these changes? Joseph Folorenshaw.
Sandra, the only agency or body I can look and say we should appeal to is our conscience. It's our conscience, Sandra. If you look at it, if someone want to deceive himself or deceive anybody, you set up a committee with eminent Nigeria, brilliant Nigeria. Those I'm talking of Waste report now. Okay. They brought their report on recommendation. You now sit down to show that you are going somewhere. You now say, I'm setting up a white paper committee to look at the committee report. It means that they jokingly, it means that they want to put the recommendation. That paper is not white, is that paper black? You understand? So if you look at it, sometimes just check out what when in UK, when they are in their parliament, their seat is not comfortable. You see almost every one of them sitting. I'm touching. These are lawmakers that are actually doing their work. Now look at go to watch our own House of Assembly, either the red chamber or green chamber. They create this opportunity for you to sleep. The Senate can be debating. You can stretch and you sleep. Immediately, those that say nay have it, you just wake up and say, oh, no. If they now ask you why, which one? Now say nay have it. What am I trying to say? I think we need to consciously appeal to the conscience of every Nigeria. Let us understand what power is. Nigeria, we don't understand what power is. If you want to understand what power is, go and look at God. God have the power to stop our life now. You understand it? But God is so disciplined, and if there's anything, God will still say in the Bible, the same man, God said, he talked to man and said, come and let us reason together. But if you give Nigeria power, just small power, come and see a person that will wear just last mile uniform that you can go to the market and buy and sew that color. Immediately you give him that power, he can look at you and say, when he's talking to you, now you first of all look at yourself. Is it not this person that is talking to me? Or when you see the men in black, or even now the neighborhood watch, they go say immediately they wear that, they put on that uniform. They assume life and death is in their hand.
It's okay.
The same thing go to some of these people. Look at what the spokesperson of the president said, that that report, they just move from maybe social media. These are people that actually travel down here, spend some time here, give you money, encourage everybody, and you are telling us their report is like this. To me, first, if I want to I will reject you in wholesale. I will just please give us your account. That now about 70.
It's because of your money that
70 something billion that you get. I'll transfer it first. I don't return your money. Don't talk on our issue again. Well, you can't keep their money. And you say they should not talk.
And they even train the INEC officials.
It's okay.
Sandra.
It's all right.
Now, well, they are not for their Christmas.
Sandra.
Okay.
Sandra, permit me to also say one or two things on this your very important question. I'll say very important because you are saying, okay, who is going to bail the cat? Where is the oath going to come from? If after 2008, we've had about 3 presidents who have not even checked this particular report.
What, including this president, because this president's special advisor has now said that this report was a poorly done gesture.
No, that's the EU report now. We are talking about the waste report now.
Okay.
The EU, well, again, in trying to maybe defend this current mandate. I understand where Mr. Adeyalake is coming from, because again, I think he's saying that the EU report questions the legitimacy of this government. And I think that's where it's coming from. But again, I think he's just doing his job, as advisor on communications and strategy. Mm-hmm. Now, Sandra, I've said it before, I'm going to repeat it today. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has this opportunity to do two things, and he has a choice to go with any of the two that I'm going to mention. He can decide to want to build a political empire, a political empire which is going to fail and can never endure. We have had presidents who tried to do that in the past, and they failed completely. There were presidents in the past who also had the same opportunity to reform our electoral process. But while they were trying to build, and they failed, Chief Olusegun Obasanjo is still alive. He had every opportunity to reform our electoral process. But instead of building a political legacy, he was trying to build a political empire, and he failed. So President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has two options now: to want to build a political empire, which will fail, or to build a political legacy that will put Nigeria on the right path going forward. Those are the two options. If he fails at that level, Sandra, there are also two options left for Nigeria. The second one will be the media. We must not keep quiet.
Yeah.
We must continue to make it an agenda for this government and continue to remind them that, look, our electoral process needs a lot of reform and they must attend to it. If the media now facing its responsibility, the civil society organization, the organized labor also have a role to play. Continue to talk about it and make it an agenda. You see that I removed the National Assembly. I'll tell you why I'm removing them, because it will still have to come to their death. But look, if President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the way he was able to play the politics of presiding officers and ensure that what he wanted is what happened, if he makes this justice waste report a priority, Sandra, that report in its entirety will be passed by this 10th assembly. That is even if only the president is interested. Like I said again, he has an option to want to build a political empire, a political legacy. Time will tell.
All right, thank you very much, Said Fuad. But before we move on to the next, focal point this evening, just very quickly, have Nigerians moved on? Have we moved on from all that we went through as regards the election, this past elections? A lot of, insecurity, so many, stuff that a lot of people saw and experienced that they are not comfortable with, they do not like. But then, have we moved on? We do. Some people are, we already have a president. Let's just move. Let's just do what we have to do.
Move on. In fact, if you want me to list like 10, that is going to be very difficult for Nigerians to move on. One is the one of money design before the election. You think people will go to move on like that? Economy is still suffering from it too. That's why you see that even when Emefiele was being called by DSS and being taken to Abuja, a lot of people are jubilating. They don't even know whether it's going to be right or wrong. For the problem and what they face at that particular time, that one is one. Then two, the way the last election has divided us, we are not healed from that particular process. So it's going to be very, very difficult, and that particular tone is what is still going as we speak. Then the third one is the role that the youth play during that particular election. That particular role is going to be very, very difficult for us to move on from it until the Supreme Court has given the judgment. Therefore, politicians, when a case is still, you don't know, maybe it's not peculiar to presidential election, even senatorial, House of Assembly. There are some certain senators that immediately they finish the court of appeal, they don't know, maybe they are going to continue.
Well, there's a governor that NYC has said is certificate not from them.
Then another thing again, another thing again is that there are some certain senators, there are some certain governors, they are governor today. In the next 2 years they won't be governor.
It's okay.
According to what the court will say. So okay. For the president, for what Alake just said, he has just said it. Fuad said he was doing his job. That is not his job. That is not what public. Well, he's not presenting himself as a public relations practitioner. He's only on strategy and whatever. Because if it is on communication Communication does not tell you to lie. You can disagree with the report. No, I'm coming. You can disagree with a report. I'm coming. You can disagree with a report on some certain standings, and you agree on some certain standings. So that's the thing.
Hold on.
It's not his job. How can he say it's his job to lie?
Hold on. It's okay.
110 members that when they came to Nigeria,
he said that Nigerians have moved on. And I am asking the questions: have Nigerians?
If we have moved on, will they still be at the court as we speak?
You know, Sandra. When you say you have moved on,
yes,
I'm sure the supporters of the president have moved on. Members of the APC,
there are cases in court.
I don't know. In their minds they moved on because they won the election.
Okay.
But again, it is important for us to say that look, the election cycle is not complete.
Yes.
Until judgments are.
All right. Hello. All right. Well, you wanted to say something? Yes.
To me,
election petition.
To me, Alake is correct. We should be correct and say, the president has moved on. But to say Nigeria will move on, it's not our spokesperson. It's the spokesperson of the president. So let people say something and say, Oga, say the president has moved on. But for us, we never get, maybe Fuad be our spokesperson to find out whether we are moving on. No.
So basically, he's not speaking for Nigerians.
No, he's
speaking for the president.
So there are people that still want some sort of, conversation still be done as regards this election.
Yes.
Let's not forget, we have about 3 elections that will be happening by November this year. So do you think I think it's important that we have this conversation ruling so that we don't have repeats
no, we still have repeat.
Sandra, there's going to be Kogi election. This Kogi election that is coming. In fact,
no, Kogi election has always been like that. No, Congress election has not been like that.
It's all right.
So we show that we don't know. We didn't move on. No lesson.
So basically, we're going to have a conversation later on as regards, is it the president and his team that has moved on, or is it just Dele Alake that has moved on from the election? We'll know by the time we open up the phone line, and ask Nigerians, have we moved on from all that our eyes saw, all that our ears heard, and all that our mouth said? Because, in recent times, Fuhad, I know that a lot of people were concerned as regards how tribal sentiments enter this Mesoma and Jam issue, because a lot of people are saying that it is an aftermath of what happened during the elections. There was a thin line between the ethnic colorization, religious colorization during the elections is still going on, but still suffering. Any small issue now you hear, na Igbo man, is a Yoruba man.
Sandra. Sandra. I just hope that Nigerians will try to be wiser than these politicians. Unfortunately, politicians are also Nigerians. And I always say this. Okay, look at the politics that happened at the National Assembly, Sandra. When it was time to play real politics at the National Assembly, did you hear anybody talking about ethnicity? Although there were questions of region or no region, but when it came to voting day, the day of voting, what did you see, Sandra?
I saw someone say that talk about ethnicity. My heart is for someone, but I'm going to vote for someone.
And they didn't talk about packages too.
And there was nobody that talked about political parties. Everybody fell in line. Everybody fell in line on their own personal interests. But when it comes to elections, when it comes to deceiving the people, the politicians are always quick to throw in the issue of ethnicity and say, because you are Igbo, they don't like you. Because you are Yoruba. I tell you that when it comes to real politicking, when they sit down on the political table to decide the fate of Nigerians, and they lock themselves up in a room, Sandra, ethnicity and religion does not matter again.
Yes.
It is about personal interest. So I think that, look, we may not move on because, again, there are still questions about the conduct of our elections. It is not a perfect process. Look, even the best democracies in the world, I agree, have their own problems. America still has 1 or 2 issues with their electoral process. But being intentional about fixing those problems is what is missing in Nigeria.
Yes.
We don't.
All right. Hello? Okay, I think the network is a little bit strained there, Fuad. We may have to reconnect with you. All right, you're back. Okay, but I think that's it for this particular one, Fuad. Thank you so much for your contribution thus far In case you're just tuning in, this is Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos, and you're on to Political Roundtable, and I am sitting in for Said Fuad as the anchor for this evening. Said Fuad is joining in via the phone line as an analyst. I have Nuruddin Adegbenru here as well, and Joseph Olorunso. My name is Omobola Sandra. And we're just having a conversation as regards the report from the European Union Election Observation Mission. They said quite a lot, gave about 23 recommendations, but we're looking at the key points, 6 key points that they highlighted as regards what they think Nigeria can do better as regards coming elections. And one, they said that remove ambiguities. I think that's one is very, very important. All this 25%, all this 25% and 2/3 and 94th, conversation. Remove ambiguities in the law. Establish a publicly accountable selection process for INEC members, which took us back to the Uwais report of 2007/2008, where it was recommended that the NJC should be the one to select or appoint now or recommend people that should be the chief electoral officer of the country. Number 3, ensure real-time publication of and access to election results. Provide greater protection for media practitioners. Address discrimination against women in political life, and impunity regarding electoral offences. We didn't say anything as regards that one because Fuad, I don't know if you remember, some months ago we had a conversation where INEC was saying separate and let us have a different commission that is facing electoral offences, so that INEC can face elections in itself and there won't be any interference or not. Just very quickly, a minute now, so we can go on to the next one. As regards electoral offences, what would you say? Because the Electoral Act said a whole lot, said don't spend more than this, but we saw way more than that's being spent. Don't do this, don't do that. And then we saw people carrying ballot boxes. We saw people don't do any form of campaign or whatnot on election day. And we saw people saying, if you're not voting for this party, you can't even enter the voting grounds, not talk of getting to the polling unit and all of that. So as regards electoral offences, people don't get punished. We don't hear anything, that, somebody did this and then the person, something happened. What's the way forward as regards that particular one? So we can move on to the next one before we now finalize, and then open up the phone line. Electoral offences.
One thing there is that this particular point pointed to 2 things. One is that has to do with the electoral offenders. One thing there is that there won't be something wrong if you have a kind of agency also looking at that, and even judicial harm can do that for us. Maybe we are going to have immediately we finish an election, they should constitute a body that is going to be for electoral offenders, where those judges, what they are going to face is going to face squarely. Maybe it's going to be within 6 months or thereabout that they should fix it.
Fuad, do we agree that maybe we should have the Electoral Offences Commission,
whereby not a commission, but an agency that can thorough do that one and really make down. Then the second one is the issue of impunity of the electoral officers. I must tell you, before this election, yes, okay, on this particular table, I told Fuad that before that election, that there are some certain states, both the EO and electoral officers, there are some the PO and the assistants, they are members of some certain political parties, different parties, depends on the state, that they've recruited them.
All right.
So with that particular issues now, that is why INEC needs to look beyond this report. They will look inside this report and look inwardly. All those officers that have put the INEC offices into shame, they should be able to extract them and put them as part of the electoral offender. They must be prosecuted together.
Thank you.
Sandra,
yes.
This thing will not work. It will not work. It will not work.
Okay.
Sandra, why it will not work is this. Let's look at some of the offense. Snatching of ballot boxes. That ballot box, as far as federal government is concerned, is a public property. Vandalism of public property, the police can take good care of you. You understand?
It's true. It's true.
Now, some people carry firearm during the election.
Criminal aspect of it.
There is a law in Nigeria that the non-state actor must not carry firearms. Police will take care of that. So we are doing all this because we are not willing to actually do anything.
Okay.
You
so there's no need for an electoral offense.
You know EFCC. Just some time ago, sometimes EFCC will be doing a case that did not concern their work. So this thing is just to be buying time for us not to do anything. All those offenses that people are committing during election, there's a criminal offense that police will take care of the individual that are involved.
Do you agree that most of all these offenses are things that the regular security agencies we have on ground, there are things that they should be able to handle, not that we have to now create a separate commission for electoral offenses?
Honestly, Sandra, I agree 100% with Joseph Olorosho.
Okay.
All of these cases, and you know there's a problem now. The police made all of the investigations. They made most of the arrests. They've concluded their investigation, and what they have done basically is now to hand over all of the files to INEC, for INEC to go and prosecute. But like Joseph Olorosho said, you know, that's what has happened. I think that's now that they've got, you know, meanwhile, the police is supposed to go ahead and prosecute. Because most of those offenses are criminal offenses that the police can handle as a criminal matter. Only what they need to do is to ensure that INEC is there, maybe as a witness or as a party to the suit when they are being prosecuted. So, okay, for example, the man in Adamawa State that was announcing result before collation, is that not a criminal matter that should just go straight to court? The police can, or the people that were carrying arms, the person that snatched ballot box, destroyed ballot box, is that not a destruction of public property that the police can easily handle without, you know, now INEC has collected most of these files now, the cases are with them. And they are not giving timelines to prosecution. And don't be surprised that in the next 4 years, most of the cases are still going to be there without any headway. So we don't need a special commission. The police can take care of these cases. All these cases are things that the police can handle.
All right. Thank you very much, Fuad Sahid. This is still Mainland 98.3 FM. You're on to Political Roundtable. We're moving on now to the second focal point for this evening. That will be a wrap on that particular one. Don't worry. We will open up the phone line very, very soon so we can, you know, take all conversations together because, you know, there really isn't so much time. Now, let's move on to the second, you know, focal point for this evening. Gentlemen, by law, as signed by President Muhammadu Buhari himself, you know, the former president Muhammadu Buhari himself signed it into law. Okay, you know, some years ago. By law, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu must name his cabinet within 60 days after taking the oath of office on May 29. So he has done about 40 days. We have about 20 days left. Yeah. For him to get his names, transmit to the Senate for confirmation, and then we have, you know, a ministerial list. Some people would argue that one thing about ministerial list is that it gives an insight to citizens, analysts, people, media, as regards, you know, the direction the administration is headed. So we'll know the kind of people, you know, that will be making decisions as regards key sectors in the country. And that is why the conversation as regards politician versus technocrats comes into play. Some people are of the opinion that, let's have, you know, technocrats, people that have true understanding. Let us not have another Adamu that will come forward and say, look, I didn't know anything about my ministry. I had to call some professors, and then, you know, they gave me a blueprint on how they believe that the education sector should go forward. Could that be why we had, you know, 9 months of strike last year? Till tomorrow, there's still no headway as regards that one, whether or not they'll be paid, whether or not, you know, all of the things that have been pushed forward will be done or not. You know, that conversation is still there. We have a medical doctor who is the minister in charge of labor, you know, and employment, and, you know, we have a lawyer, a senior advocate of Nigeria, who is in charge of works and housing. So, you know, we're having conversations as regards, you know, there's the politician versus technocrat debate. I have a lot of questions as regards that. Are technocrats really the game changers? Some people will say the composition of the ministerial list of the Obasanjo administration says a whole lot about having technocrats, you know, in seats. Okonjo-Iweala was Minister of Finance, and to a certain extent her presence was felt. She was able to clear Nigeria of every form of debt that we may, if we're owing an aunt, we paid everything off. You understand? That's as regards, the importance of having someone who truly, genuinely understands, the sector or the ministry that they are being appointed to head. Now, as we await, that list, as we get to know who becomes what, there have also been a lot of consultations. There's been some lobbying going on. Abuja hotels have been filled. People have left their states. They're in Abuja. There have been meetings upon meetings. You even see opposition members going to visit the president. Just a lot. If possible, I will be in Abuja trying to lobby. But that's how very interesting it has been so far. There's a lot of people out there that are trying to make one statement or the other, to the point where we have Asari Dokubo in Aso Rock and whatnot. So one would understand that to a certain extent the president seems to be on some sort of political pressure, as regards, what do I do, who do I do, what do I do, or who do I appoint. But then, judging by how the president was able to handle the leadership of the National Assembly, do you think that the president can withstand whatever political pressure and lobbying in this selection process? Judging by how he was able to handle the leadership of the National Assembly, both principal and unprincipal, and also as regards the recent appointments of service chiefs, how it was properly spread, the special advisors that were appointed as well. Judging by all of that, do you think, or to what extent can President Bola Ahmed Tinubu withstand the political pressure that is on him as regards, and the lobbying that is currently happening as regards this selection process?
Well, for me, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, the president of Nigeria, looking by its antecedents, is tired of leadership. I don't know, maybe I still have to share that compendium that I have about his style of leadership. He always work majorly with his cabinet, even when he was a governor of Lagos. That's why you see that those people that form the cardinal point of politics in Lagos as of today, they are part of the member of his cabinet, either as SA, either as SSA, either as a commissioner. And that is the thing, he has eyes for good brain. But at the national level now, is a different ball game, because you are going to appoint those people you've never met, those people you've never known, those people that are going to be put to you, unlike those people that he formed himself when he was governor of Lagos State. So I think he's going to really, but the only thing there is that he must have a kind of criteria that he has put on, irrespective of where that particular candidate from each state that is coming from to be part of the minister. He must have a criteria that is put on ground. That one, he wants to look at discipline that person is coming from, brilliancy, ability to do things, and what are the things that person has done before. So that that criteria is going to really screen a lot of people. And it should make sure that those candidates coming from each state, either from political bloc, must not be one. He asks them to give like 3, and with their resume along with it, so that he can be able to use that one to form the basis. Because whether he likes it or not, he is going to work with majority of people he has never met, those people he has never worked with, those people that he cannot attest to their credibility. He is not going to, because there are those people he has never been in Jigawa, he has never worked in Bauchi, so you don't expect him that he's going to know everybody and work with them, apart from being a governor for 8 years and a senator for about 2 years. So automatically there are a lot of politicians that he may not even know. But one thing that he must put together now is this: thank God that the last administration, the Senate at that particular time, has made sure to be 60 days. So it's not going to be like 6
months.
6 months during the time of Muhammadu Buhari. He has within 20 days now. In fact, less than 18 days. Because 2 days has over it now. Within 18 days, he must create some certain criteria The issue of technocrat politicians, let me tell you, politicians will tell you, I go to school and I have certificate, I have practiced one way or the other, I'm also a technocrat. That's why some of them will say, what is about technocrat? I'm technocrat, I'm a politician. But you must have a criteria. 1, capacity. 2, capability. 3, integrity. Because this administration is looking for more people with higher integrity that can really soil up this administration. So then the technical know-how is very, very important. We don't want to see a kind of a minister that has never held one business and be successful in that business to be a minister. We don't want to see a minister that happens to be a medical doctor, right, that when he was a medical doctor he enjoyed all the paraphernalia of office, and at the same time he now became a minister. He cannot reciprocate what he has enjoyed when he was also a professional. Then we don't want to see governors that have failed either 4 years, either 8 years. So if you use all those criteria that I've listed above, capacity, capability, technical know-how, and at the same time efficiency, then he can make the headway through that and be expecting 3 candidates from each of the states.
Thank you very much, Said Fuad. Your thoughts? Do you think the president can withstand all of this pressure, all this lobbying back and forth?
You see, the fact that 40 days after assuming office as the president
has gone,
we don't have a ministerial list, means that there's a lot of pressure.
Yes.
One would think that a president that said he was going to hit the ground running, and from day one of his government was quick to announcing policies. Policies that even past government 8 years, 16 years down the line have not been able to handle. He was able to go into them first, second, third day of his term as president. But one would have thought that a president that has that kind of capacity, in 5, 6, 7 days, would have been able to announce the names of his cabinet ministers. I remember when Joe Biden was declared winner of the presidential election in the US. Even before he was sworn in as president, Sandra, the names of his cabinet members, ministers,
have been known.
Well, even the entire team was already available. Before he was sworn in, there was a list already available for people to look at.
Yes, but sorry, because I don't want to forget. So, when you make mention of the fact that Trump was able to achieve a certain thing in America, you see, here now we have ethnic diversity. We have Biden. We have ethnic diversity. We have tribe. We have religion. We have geopolitical zoning arrangement as well. So can we really put it against themselves? Can we really say that the same?
No,
because
you see, Sandra, the constitution is very clear about how the president should form or appoint his ministers. Every state and geopolitical zone is to be represented, fully represented. And the constitution is clear about that.
Not that I don't understand you as regards.
Yes, I'm coming.
I'm coming. But you know that there are some key ministries. Let's see. You don't have to.
Whether T or Sandra. Okay, let me not T or killers. The thing is this: there's a lot of political pressure on the president. There's a lot of they said. This is not.
Hello. Oh no! Oh, that was getting really interesting there. But Fuad Said, hello. Okay, maybe we'll try to connect with you back, Fuad. I don't know what's going on there, but please stand by. Joseph Olorunso, as regards the ministerial list and the political pressure that the president may or may not be under, because maybe just taking his time, maybe he already knows, because before during the campaigns, this is someone who said that it is a lifelong ambition. He has known for a long time that he's going to be president. So there's the belief that someone who has been preparing for this position all his life certainly has his eye on some certain individuals that he's going to work with. Okay, and this is someone who is vast as regards politics. Let's not joke ourselves. Yes. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is not is when it comes to politics, he knows his onions. Yeah. So why do you think he should have to go through so much pressure or lobbying before he can get his ministerial list? Yes.
With all sincerity, President Tinubu is a very brilliant person, but this is the first time he's playing at the international level. Let me put it that way. Okay. The other one he was be playing at local level. So this is the first time.
Local league.
Yeah, local. So okay. At that international level, you must consider a lot of things. If you don't do it, let me tell you, if you look at the first, which I would call it a mistake, but something that's not a bit appropriate. If you look at the first renaming of some of the airports in Nigeria, yes, to me, if I'm one-on-one with him, I won't name Port Harcourt Airport for Chief Obafemi Awolowo. You know, it's causing some issue.
Let's not go down that route.
No, just hold on. It's causing some issue there now. But the same thing will come to the ministerial position. There's a people you will appoint in Edo State. It's going to be fight from beginning to the end.
Let's not compare.
Now look at it again. No, Sandra, let's just educate ourselves. Now the river people, let me come back. They are complaining now that if the president should follow any person that Wike will present to him for minister, that they themselves that are in APC, they already, nobody is talking to them that is APC, that are a former governor of Rivers that have been visiting Abuja back and front. If it's going to be his own nomination, that there's going to be trouble for them. You know that there was a minister there, the former minister for transport.
Rotimi
Amechi was from Rivers State, but it was fight from beginning to the end. You understand? So our appeal is this: first, you say it's in the law that it's supposed to be 60 days. Anything involving law in Nigeria, I don't need to believe it, because, for example, it is the law in the first year do that. The protection of life and property in Nigeria is sacrosanct. People are being killed every day, and business is going on as usual. I can bet you that if after 60 days President Tinubu did not, Nigeria will say he's taking to allow him. He want to select.
Nothing will even happen. It's not the National Assembly that will.
Why are we accepting? Why are we accepting mediocrity?
Sandra, those are some of the issues that we will find a way to address. That when someone is coming to put, there is a law. You understand it? If you say there will not be maybe looking for people, Sandra, when he was campaigning, there are different ethnic groups coming to give him support as for his presidential campaign.
Endorsement.
Are you telling me that you will not get, at least among those groups, you will be having one person that you will be putting eye on? This person should be minister for sport. That is where minister for agri.
Thank you very much, Joseph Olorenshaw. That is where my conversation or my angle is coming from. Fuad Sahid, the president once said that when he was an aspirant for this position or a candidate for this position, he said that here is a lifelong ambition. It's something that he has been preparing for clearly almost all his political life. Okay, so some people are of the opinion that means that he has spoken, he has gone into the depths of,
he has a plan.
Yes, he has his plan. He already knows the people that he's going to work with and all of that. So to what extent do you think all of this political pressure now, because I don't think the president foresaw how he won this election. I don't think the president foresaw the fact that a Labour Party from nowhere took about how many percent, 13% or so of votes. I don't think he foresaw the fact that the PDP was also able to gain some ground. I don't think he foresaw Kano State being taken by Kwakwanso, the NNPP party. I don't think he foresaw all of this. So now that we have all of those realities on ground now, what kind of political pressure? We've lost the call again. Okay, but what kind of political pressure do you think the president will be going through now as lobbying? Because Kwakwanso was also at Aso Rock last week. Rabiu Kwakwanso.
And he's also we don't know why he's in Aso Rock. But we
don't know why.
No, but Sandra, let's answer.
We're not assuming.
Did the president say that he's facing pressure?
You say it's not facing pressure.
No, it's possible that it is we that is saying
with the kind of person that we know him for, and the kind of tentacles that he has. I'm telling you that even with the situation of the counting of this, 40 out of 60, in fact it's 42 out of 60 now. And one thing again is this, I must be frank with you, that President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, he may have some people that have hide that, okay, this person can handle this, but if those people did not fall within the calculation of that state and that geopolitical zone, he won't even fly. Then another thing again is this, there are some certain holes in politics that he needs to fill. For instance, now look at Kano State that you are talking about.
All right, hold on, Fuad. Hello.
What's wrong?
Like Kano you are talking about now, is in between, because he is looking for assistance from NNPP, especially during the National Assembly election. We knew, and with the kind of closeness, the way they are coming together now with Rabi Kwankwaso, if he wants to throw a ministerial slot to Kano, like the one of Ganduje that have been following. In fact, there was a time that Ganduje was tipped to be the vice presidential candidate to him. So with what he has done for him as a Kano governor, when he was Kano governor, so it's in between Kwankwaso group and Ganduje group at that particular time, and with his now, that one also is an edict.
All right.
So when you go to some certain states like that, then
Fuad.
Wait, I'm with you, Sandra.
Lifelong ambition or not, a lot of things, I think you and I will agree that a lot of things were very, very new to our political system in this 2023 general elections. So what do you think, could be, because Joseph Olonsho does not believe the president is under any pressure.
There's a lot. Well, it may not be under any pressure, but there's a lot of lobbying going on.
Okay.
And most of this lobbying, again, most of these positions are calculated towards the next election. Don't be surprised that, look, even in just 42 days of this government, politicians are already looking at the next election.
Yes.
And they're already positioning themselves. So we are the ones that are still talking about a new government. In the mind of the average politician in Nigeria, they are already talking about the next election. Who is going to become what? In some states already, they are already calculating who is going to become governor in 2027. As we speak. I'm telling you. So all of these things are going to come to play, even as the ministers have to be. And now I did a little prediction. In some of these states I'm going to mention, because also I can't mention all the 36 states. Sandra, these names will either appear as ministers or be influential in who becomes ministers in those states. You can note it down. These names, they will either appear as ministers eventually or be influential in who becomes a minister in their state. In Adamawa State, for example, Aisha Binani will appear as a minister or be influential in who becomes a minister in Adamawa State.
Spot on.
Note it down. In Plateau State, former Governor Simon Bakola Long,
yes,
will either become a minister or be influential because a minister. In Kano, Ganduje could pick it for himself, and let me even say Ganduje takes it for himself. Talking about Kwankwaso, Ganduje was all around with the president. In Kaduna State, there will fire. Okay. In Oyo State, I see it as for Larry getting compensated to a great extent.
Fuad, you know where we are waiting for.
I'm coming.
Go there.
In Osun State, will most likely become a minister, or the influential will become the minister in Osun. In Cross River State, Benayadi lost his senatorial bid, but most likely he will become a minister. So again, in River State,
hello.
Don't be surprised if you find a Yosambike named as minister. It has happened before. Ebola was the minister under the PDP.
Yes.
You know, so in Akwa Ibom, Akpabio is the Senate president, but I'm sure he will decide who becomes minister in that state.
Yes.
In APT, fire me. You know, what are we talking about?
It's okay.
I'm fire. You know, fire may not get ministerial position, but I know fire could either take it for himself or be influential because the minister in that state. Right. So, you know, at the end of the day, Sandra, what we are going to see is a list of majorly career politicians who will be paraded or be given to us as workers because they are all graduates and are people who are also professionals in their schools. That's what you get. My own prediction, I could never, you know, it's prediction, so you can't hold me to it.
Nobody's going to hold you to it, but some people would say that, you know, I think maybe where I would agree with you or go along that line is some people would say that knowledge alone isn't, you know, the key to success. That political power let me give you a scenario. Let me give you a scenario, Sandra, about knowledge.
Okay.
Now, just imagine that you want to appoint a minister in the area of housing. And you now say, oh, well, as a minister, it's mainly administrative. You are just supposed to oversee the ministry. There are already structures in the ministry to run and all of that. But I know that housing standard goes beyond bricks and mortar, just building housing.
Yes, sir.
There is finance that comes into housing. You understand what I'm saying? There are a lot of things that come into that ministry called housing. And if you are not a player, if you don't understand the nooks and crannies of the housing business, I tell you cannot never function perfectly as a minister. But you are going to have a situation where they will tell you that look at what happened in the Ministry of Sports, Sunday Dare.
You know, Sunday Dare just won. Hadi Sirika as well in the aviation sector.
Unfortunately, Hadi Sirika is even from that sector.
Yes, ma'am.
You understand? So, okay, look at Alhaji Lai Mohammed. Yes, as information, one would say that he has the background. But when it came to tourism and culture, what did Baba do?
He killed the business.
He didn't kill, he abandoned it.
He didn't move on. Even if tourism did not even have any impact on Baba in that. Because tourism itself is a business that you must understand for it to function properly.
Thank you, Fuad. Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Saif Fuad. Yes, I mean, while we have a whole lot to say as regards the past administration and the cabinet, you know, that that comprised of that particular administration, there's a whole lot that we will say. I don't think Adamu's statement will ever leave my mind anytime soon.
Do you know that? Do you know that the background of Adamu, the majority of the feature story he wrote before 2015 were about education in Daily Trust?
What happened? Maybe he foresaw his position.
Then how come you now say you don't know anything about education?
So you
won't blame me, Sandra. You won't blame me.
I want to.
No, I know.
I have ghostwriters.
For the time, no, the man can write. The man can. Yes, he can write.
I can write a political.
No. It's not about writing. No, he has
the knowledge.
One thing there is this.
Is it possible?
Even if somebody don't know anybody. No, what I'm saying is that if you don't know anything about one particular ministry, you are there for 8 years.
No,
8 years.
And
you say you don't know anything about it.
It's okay.
You collected their money for 8 years, bonus, allowances, traveling allowance, everything. 8 years, and you say you don't know anything about it.
It's better late than never. I would like to open up the phone line. I would like
just a few seconds.
Okay.
You know why that man said he didn't know anything? When you study education, it's a double honor. You have a certificate as in for that course, then you now have a certificate on education, on how you manage how people learn. You get the point now. The man who has been writing something on education, the way maybe the department, but how people assimilate knowledge is not there. And that's why he's telling you, for knowledge, that's why you look at the way he treated those ASU. And the
student, Nance.
If it's a person that study education. Maybe he was formerly dean of student affairs. When students come, you know, so
without student,
you don't have lecturer. You understand it? If we find a way to address the student to some extent, not that I'm saying they are volatile,
all right.
but the way you attend
thank
to them.
You very much. Thank you very much, gentlemen. I appreciate you're listening to Mainland 98.3 FM, and this is Political Roundtable. All right. Before we went to do the education sector, very unfortunate situation that we found ourselves, because I don't know how we entered that particular conversation, but how we got there is as regards the ministerial list, by the way, which is the second focal point this evening. And now let me just reiterate the focal point for this evening, so we can then open the phone line so you can join in on the conversation. Thank you very much to our amiable, very intelligent analysts, three of them, who have been able to give their insights as regards these ones. Fuad Sahid is via the phone line, who himself is usually the anchor of this show, and then I have Nuruddin Adegberu here as well, and Joseph Folorunsho. My name is Omobola Sandra, and the two focal points: one, as regards the 2023 election, the European Union Election Observer Mission, gave a report, quite a damning report, if you might ask, or if I might add, as regards, the election. They said, yes, Nigerians actually had some sort of, commitment towards the democratic process, but there were some systemic weaknesses that revealed that there is a need for further legal and operational reforms that will help transparency, inclusiveness, and accountability. The federal government responded. Dele Alake said that the observers just did it was just a poorly done desk job by the European Union. And INEC itself also said, how can you give us such a report based on just a few glitches that happened? You can't judge the entire polls by just a few glitches. But then the focal point now is as regards the 6 priority recommendations of the European Union. They said, 1, remove ambiguities in the law. 2, establish a publicly accountable selection process for INEC members, where we now went further to 2007-2008, the Justice Mohammed Uwais report, which clearly states that, or which clearly suggests or recommends that the NJC should be given that task, that burden of choosing the chief electoral officer of this country. And then number 3 that was highlighted is ensure real-time publication of and access to election results. INEC promised that there was going to be real-time result viewing, in terms that's the IREV, although they said there were glitches along the line. But then provide greater protection for media practitioners, address discrimination against women in political life, impunity regarding electoral offenses. And he said there's a need for political will in order to achieve all of these things. There has to be some sort of dialogue between all stakeholders. The federal government rejected the report. Dele Alake said the report was a poorly done text job, said that they based the findings on rumors, social media commentaries, and statements made by opposition parties. And INEC also came in and said, that was, they should disregard the findings of the report, saying that you shouldn't judge INEC just based off of a few glitches. And we're asking the question, do you think the EU report rightly justifies, renewed calls for immediate electoral reforms? How valid is the federal government and INEC rejection of the report? There's one thing that I particularly took from Dele Alake's statement is as regards, he said Nigerians have moved on. That there's no need for all of these calls for reforms, and he just said they have moved on, basically. And I'm asking, have Nigerians truly moved on, and how critical are these recommendations from European Union? The second conversation is as regards the ministerial list. By law, the president must name his cabinet within 60 days after taking his oath of office on May 29 and transmit it to the Senate for confirmation. That is the law. Within 60 days, the president is compelled to appoint his ministers. So it can't take 6 months like former President Muhammadu Buhari, who incidentally was the one who signed the new law into effect. So It's 40 days or 42 days thereabouts gone. We still have about 18 days or so left. Do you think, or to what extent can President Bola Ahmed Tinubu withstand all of the political pressure and lobbying that has been going on at the presidential villa as regards the selection process, especially in the different states? The peculiarities, there was, just as very rightly put by Said Fuhad, he made mention of key states, and what may or may not play out, in those particular states. So is there any reason for us to worry? After 40 days, the president is yet to hit the ground running. Let me put it that way, as regards his ministerial list. Because he promised to hit the ground running. But as regards the ministerial list, we are yet to see the president hit the ground running. And there's also the debate as regards, politician versus technocrat debate. And that was where the Adamu conversation came in. And we were talking about education and how, who should not be what, who should be what. I don't know. Somebody said Fuad should be chief press secretary. I don't know. I really don't know.
He's a journalist.
So, round pegs in round holes. But is it about the people or about the knowledge that they have, or the political power that they have? Hadi Sirika was an aviation expert, and
professional.
We have an invisible Nigeria air. So
2 decades.
If we experience that, we had the Sirika. It's really truly about technocrats or about and politicians. So that's where the conversation is heading this evening. Let's get your thoughts.
He was a lawyer. Malami was a lawyer.
No, he's still a lawyer.
He's still a lawyer.
He's
a senior advocate of Nigeria.
And
he was Fuad's
the
best
kind
friend.
of judgment that they
And it was everywhere, So let's have the conversation. 0913-6000-410. 0913-6000-410. That is the number to call to share your thoughts. You can send text messages or WhatsApp messages to 0913-6000-430. 0913-6000-430. We're live on Facebook and YouTube. I'm taking messages from there as well, so you can share your thoughts on our live chat section on Facebook and YouTube at Mainland 98.3 FM. Thank you to everyone who has sent messages there so far. We appreciate. I see all of the messages. I will take them all. Not to worry. I'll try as much as possible to take them all. Somebody here is saying, please forgive me for defending Mesoma. We have moved past that. Let's move on. Thank you very much. All right, let's start with phone calls, and I'll be on to messages in a bit. This is Mainland 98.3 FM. This is Political Roundtable. Hello. Good evening.
Hello, good evening.
Yes, good evening.
My name is Victor. I'm calling you from Shomolu.
All right, Victor from Shomolu. Please go ahead.
If I am very fortunate to be first time caller this night. I thought I would not be able to entertain.
Oh.
But most of this I'm hearing you guys saying now, even Fuad saying now. I'm surprised. During campaign election, even after the president might have won election, Fuad in particular, he said President Muhammad, the president, is a technocrat, is a politician, is a professor in politics, is this and this and this and this and this and this and that.
Okay.
But now we have seen the opposite. You back when I say, Asanuwamoto Kokinjamu. You have somebody that told that it is time we know that Tinubu just done 8 years as governor and 2 years as a senator. But then we're telling them, I think we should vote for somebody that will do better. I think until we vote a fresh person that has not been in this caucus. I'm telling you, this thing will continue until we vote another person entirely that's not in their caucus. Let us try another hand entirely. I'm not supporting anybody, but let us employ fresh hands. Look at everything that Fuad have counted from Imo, Akwa Ibom, Lagos. He is telling you what will happen. I'm telling you, go and write it down. Everything that Fuad prophesied this night concerning the ministerial list, they will come to pass. Because it is them.
All right. Thank you very much.
I'm telling you, please, one more thing. I beg you in the name of God. Hello?
We are with you.
I beg you, please. You are taking almost all the time from our the callers. I beg you. Next time, I beg you. Shorten the time of so that we can have maybe 1 hour. 1 hour. People are very interested, and today Sunday, people are relaxing to hear your
you are okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you too. Thank you. We appreciate it. All right. Let's move on now to the next call. Hello. Good evening.
Good evening, Sandra, and everybody. See my voice. We are all angry, sir. We don't want to talk. We don't even want to talk again. We are taking our time. I'm protesting, sincerely speaking. Why used to give us 1 hour now? We are repeating things like we're in elementary school. We had you 10 times now, Sandra. Had you over and over. You see, let me speak fast on this. You see, the problem these people are having. Dola Leke think that the EU observation mission is saying that Tinubu lost the election, P2V won, or Article 1. No, that's where he's having his confusion. Secondly, the issue of what do you call it? It is INEC that is supposed to complain, not even federal government, because the whole challenge is to INEC. And again, when this man, Florisha have already said it, when this man was wearing Agbada, taking pictures, collected 39 million, no Agbada was posing in picture, he didn't know that these people were going to bring the report. Didn't he know that? And let me post you bubbles now. The Adamawa election, they say they are going to prosecute to pro bono, free of charge. They never win case where the lawyers are paid 15. They want to go free. I beg you. That's dead on arrival, please.
All right. Thank you very much, Obi. I appreciate it. Let's move on now to the next call. Hello, good evening. Oh, okay. I think I lost that one. Hello.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening.
This is Joseph calling from Akwanjo.
All right.
On the aspect of moving on,
okay.
I have never moved on. This is even the time I'm hitting my hand on the ground. Even to the extent that the moment I just open my TV, I heard of Tinubu, I just off my television. I feel bad. I can never move on. This is the time I'm even feeling pain more than even during the election. Thank you.
It's all right. Thank you very much.
The president, I think we need to know from now, at least he's still the president.
Thank you. Hello.
Good morning, Sandra.
Good evening, sir.
This is Kaide. Sorry, good evening. This is Kaide from Abeokuta.
Yes, sir.
Actually, I will follow suit with those people that complain about signing. Please give us much of what Farouk was called. What? Yes. I want to greet the guests, Nuruddin. Good morning. Good evening.
Good evening.
And others. I take this evening, based on that EU report, they collected $39 million. At another time, they collected US $25 million. At another time, too, they had their own 355 billion naira. Add all those monies together, you can imagine how much it will take for a presidential in chairman of INEC to take and probably do in terms of giving us fair, credible election. Money can twist how a nation will look like. I am telling you. No wonder the police will sit down gently and sit back watching suppressions, voter whatever apathy, and all sorts of intimidation here and there. And what reports will you have? Will you have as recommendation? These are the things that will happen. They will not sit down. How do you expect 110 observers to move around when there's no enough security, when intimidation? Watching the TV, these people are there. They look at it, they see what was going on the TV. Everybody was probably turned aloof that how could somebody who has promised real time, fair, free election, be seeing all this type of thing and didn't hold such election and say, no, we need to probably rebrand and then replay the match. I can see a bad umpire already. And my suggestion would be that country, when we have 5 geopolitical zones or 6, why can't we have 6 chairmen or 5 chairmen together to look at this so that we can stop all this type of nonsense we are looking at. And for the ministerialship or whatever, I think 42 days now, I think.
All right, thank you very much. 0913 6000 410. Hello, good evening. Hello.
Good evening. Good evening.
Yes, we're with you.
This is Olaiwola from the line.
All right, please go on. You have just a minute.
My contribution is that the composition of the minister in Nigeria is based on the constitution, not a professional. And I'm looking at when Mr. Fuad tried to list all those ministers out now, and I look at most of them, they are same professional and same career together. Most of them did not have a different career. And this is where I want you to put it in this way now. Baba Olo will say one word in the early 1960s. He said a primary can become a commissioner. That commissioner that time equal to the minister we are talking about now. Majority work of the minister in Nigeria has been done by the civil servant. And most of other board that the president also have a power to appoint them. And I'm always talking about this thing. If you go out the ministerial department now, there is other department that the minister will appointing the people that are professional to head that department to make it work. Minister just sitting down there as if you go ahead. Look at the minister of finance now. We are talking about the central bank. The central bank alone is under the minister of finance, but the professional must be the financial people that will go to head that department. That is how the ministry work. And we are talking about that. We are talking about the central bank now. We are talking about the monetary policies and the physical policies of it. And the minister that is sitting there, they may not know anything about it. But the department of that central bank will make effective work. But what I want you to put in across to everybody here, you cannot get the people based on their professional or the party system. But let me look at the quality, let me look at integrity first. We are talking about look at when they sack Stella Udua from the Anambra State, they appoint Oton to become the minister of the aviation under Jonathan, and he took all the money. He took all the money. That's the money he used to go and use to contest all the federal ministry projects. He took that money to Makurdi to go and contest the governor. That is why he win the election that time. And Tom, I never been to university in his own life. He's just a national, like MCLM or in Lagos State. Go and take his provide. That is why I go.
Thank you.
I have never been to university, and he become the head of the Ministry of the.
All right, thank you very much. So many allegations there. So we'll just move from that one. You're listening to Mainland 98.3 FM. I have some messages on Facebook. I'll just quickly take them. We'll be back to calls in a bit. I think I need to apologize. We started picking calls quite late, so we don't have so much time to pick some more calls. I have here on Facebook Abdul Rafiu Alaba Alakwe saying, well done, guys. The reason why Nigeria politics is like do or die affair is because there's money. The money in it is too much. Let the salaries and allowances of federal legislators and state governors be exactly the amount that university lecturers are receiving. Believe me, killings, rigging, and being full-time politician will stop. People are killing and rigging elections just because of the money in it, not because of something else. However, Professor Yakub Mahmood of INEC still remains the best. He tried his possible best to give us the best election. Yes, 2023 election may not be the best, but it's better than the previous ones. Professor Mahmood can't be everywhere during elections. It is you and I that will assist him in other areas. I like which one? Professor Mahmood is like the jam boss, Professor Ishak Oloyede, who is also doing fantastically well. So we have good guys heading these agencies. It is the political class that we should beg to play the game by its rules. The European Union report was good and it is welcome, but if truly the European body is ready to help this country, it's not all about giving us money on how to conduct elections. They should also stop collecting money that some African leaders stole from Africa, take it to Europe and America. Alakpe from Ojo. Thank you very much. I also have here, still on Facebook, Kayode Olonode. I may not have expands for opportunities to be able to get a call through, but then this for you. In choosing our referee or umpire for next election, let's look at one. If character is built in secret, and those we have appointed before were babies of, say, incumbent president, How do we expect such to be disobedient to orders or authority? Such will definitely compromise their integrity. Therefore, why not ask that the National Assembly help the country by having 5 to 6 umpires from all geopolitical zones? This can stem corruption. Number 2, if nobody is agreeing with this, why not asking as people that the same National Assembly, we should hire a foreigner to head our presidential elections? That's interesting. I don't know about that though. But that's a very interesting
one.
It's
not good for national security.
It's okay. All right. Okay. Well, I have here Ima Cyril. Good evening and happy weekend. To me, we have not moved on until the court cases are concluded. Then we'll know where we are heading. Thank you very much. I also have Patrick Obiazor saying, if the court will still decide our leaders in Nigeria after casting our ballots, why did we create and fund INEC from our scarce resources? It would have been better and easier to make the courts our electoral umpire and channel the funds to them. INEC have been found to collect allocations and deliver court cases as a result. Patrick Obiazo, that's an interesting one. But thank you very much. Let's go back to phone calls and we'll be wrapping things up very soon. Hello, good evening. Okay, I lost that one. Hello.
Hello, Lady Sandra.
Yes, good evening, Prince Wise.
Good evening to all the family in the studio.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir.
God bless all of you. Mr. Fuller, congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, you see, this evening. Mr. Lordin.
Good evening, sir.
Prince Wise, you have just 1 minute.
Oh
yeah.
You see, the observer, yes, I think the advice, I think all the food that they are playing on the page is just say you must do this, you just give advice. The one we supposed to that is important, Nigeria government want to accept it. Therefore that. And for the ministerial post, yes, Mr. President for having hit the ground working. What if I have done for the past a month now? In fact, only free Nigeria can do that. Only the minister is just with me. And what I want now, Mr. President, to do, I don't want Minister for State. I beg for him not to appoint Minister for State. Secondly, I don't want one man to handle 2 or 3 ministries. If a ministry is one man, he can perform better. And as it is now, if we are proposing 42 ministers, I think 36 we have one minister. The remaining 6 we go to the political zone.
All right.
Make it 42. And that's how it's supposed to be. And again, if I go, what are they to lay you man? Can't he be a minister? Because he's an honest man and very hard working somebody. Good evening to you.
That's all right. Thank you very much. Prince Wise is asking if the chairman JAMB should be
Professor Isiakule,
a minister.
There's nothing wrong. Give a state
nominate him.
Nominating.
All right, that's a wrap. Thank you very much to everyone who was part of this conversation. Fuhad, would you like to just 30 seconds and that's all? Hello? Nurdin, just 30 seconds.
Well, what is important is that Nigeria is still our country. We don't have any other country. At least we must continue engaging these politicians to do the right thing.
All right. Thank you, Joseph.
In going, Sandra, let's make sure that the 2027 election has come. Let us collect money from all these European people. Let us not go Chantan House.
You know, just I just meant it has been happening on that. Should we return the one we collected?
Let's look inward and solve our problem by ourselves.
So should we return the one we've collected?
If you are rejecting the result, their report or recommendation, then attach the check or draft in the back of the report and send to them.
All right. Thank you very much, gentlemen. I appreciate. My name still remains Omobola Sandra, just sitting in for Said Fuad. He'll take over the reins once again next week. Apologies to everyone who we couldn't take your calls. Sincere apologies, but today's conversation just as the report was 92 pages, so it took quite a while on that one. But thank you, Joseph Folorunshaw. Thank you very much, Nuruddin Adegbero. Thank you, Fuad Sahid. 30 seconds.
Yeah, thank you for Sandra for sitting in today.
Okay.
Again, I do it in 10 seconds. Again, I appeal to the president. Build a political legacy, not a political empire.
Very
An
key.
empire will fail. It has failed before it will fail.
All right, thank you. And that's a wrap for today on Political Roundtable. Join us again next week, Sunday, 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. Don't forget, across the week, we still have Situation Room, 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. and Mainland Focus. That's, just trending issues of the day from 8:40 to 9:30. This is Mainland 98.3 FM, the sound of Lagos.
Follow us on all our social media platforms on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at Mainland 98.3 FM. On Twitter at Mainland FM. We are the sound of Lagos.
Open the fire, play the bed to let them know. You know finish you, you know finish you. Man no fit tire, every day I'm on the road. No limit you, no limit you. This now so good. Would you turn down for? Would you robo? Many things we can do. Today I'm into you. Would you wire for you? Tonight I'll be dancing at the bed away. Give me your hand and shoulder. Cause she should get up. Blessings for your head up. Give me your hand and shoulder. But I know go get us. Better go look at us. Take away the fact that young boy is blessed. Back in the days we did beg for bread. All night we do pray for church. Now everything we do is correct. They're looking at me like, how did you buy that attack? Me, I just look them like this and smirk. Charlie, I've been chasing this dream, not me today. But sometimes bad mamas play. Every I do call. Give her make she's not shock. Johnny needs so fire. Touch me up, come a chaka. And if you chop all of my money, make a damn. Be on my case like young dog. Baby, I'm just trying to grow on my wings so I can fly with you. Give me your hand and shoulder. Cause she should get up. Blessings for your head up. Give me your hand and shoulder. But I know go get us. Better go look at us. Give me your hand and shoulder. Cause she should get up. Blessings for your head up.
You're listening to the sound. Mainland FM 98.3.
The journey of togetherness is like an onion bulb. It has layers and layers and more layers that looks beautiful only when cut nicely into consistent patterns. A heart that will bond for long needs to submit to emotional education. So, why not join Adisa the Enigma and his League of Romantic Analysts on Mainland 98.3 FM every Sunday as we settle every issue of the heart, and on the Marital Affairs Show. It promises to be enlightening, engaging, emotionally grounding. Make it a